My name is Jason. I work at Noodlecake Studios, which is a mobile gaming company over on Avenue B and 20th, right by Little Bird. I got my start in video games actually working with Regan Mandrick in 2010 or something like that. I was one of her summer research assistants. And on day one, she asked me what I wanted to do. I said I wanted to make video games, and she was like, all right, make a video game. So that's pretty awesome. I made a Asteroids clone in X and A. I sat next to Ian Livingston, really smart guy. I learned a lot of good things from a lot of smart people. And now I make games full time, and that's what I wanted to do ever since I was a kid. So thanks to everybody who helped make that happen. And congrats to Vendasta on all your guys' success. I worked here in 2012, back when there was like 35 employees. Tiffany was the entire sales team, and Devin Hennig was the whole entire marketing team. And now you guys have like 180 employees. So congrats to everybody. Like, what's with the deodorant in the bathroom though? Does anybody use that? Because not after what I did to that thing. So, all right. So a little bit about Noodlecake. Our big title is Super Stickman Golf 3, which should be the next slide. So we released the third iteration of Stickman Golf last year. And Stickman Golf is a game made by Jordan Shidlowski, Ty Haugen, whatever his last name is, back in 2011, around that time. I might have my dates wrong, but the success of this iPhone game is what allowed Noodlecake Studios to exist, and now we employ like 14 people or something like that making games, and it's a really fun time. We've just hired some new people, so the mobile gaming industry is alive and well. So Super Stickman Golf 3 is free. You guys should check it out. Our next game, Flappy Golf 2, is another huge game of ours. Those two are kind of neck and neck for popularity, which should be the next slide as well. There it is. And then go one more slide. Alto's Adventure. We're also a publishing studio, so other game companies make games and then come to us to help them publish them. So Alto's Adventure is a premium award-winning iPhone game made by this guy named Harry Nesbitt in the UK. And guy's a genius. And we helped him and his team convert it to a free-to-play game, and we launched it on Android because people don't buy games on Android. They want everything for free. Because piracy is really, really bad on Android. So if you guys are pirating Android games, I want to talk to you. But so Alto's Adventure is one of our biggest games of last year, along with Bitcoin Billionaire. Both those games are free on Android. And we just launched Fluffy Jump, which is a really cute game, super great graphics, really well designed. This was made by a European fellow and his wife. And The Bug Butcher is an example of one of our premium games that we've launched both on iOS, Apple TV, and on Android. So this game is not free, and it's made by some former Blizzard employees. Super good art, really good humor, really good graphics. And another premium game of ours is Wayward Souls. This was the second game I worked on while at Noodlecake, and it's a really awesome kind of retro dungeon crawler. It's one of my favorite mobile games. It costs a couple bucks. You guys should check it out. It might change your opinion of mobile games. If you're a gamer who doesn't play mobile games, you might want to check out something like Wayward Souls. So the content of my talk is very similar to Regan's scientific approach to analyzing why games are popular. However, mine is completely based on my own opinions and my own intuition, and has no science behind it. And Regan's did a great job. So hats off to Regan for that. But actually, go back one more slide. So Pokemon Go, huge phenomenon. Super Stickman Golf 3 actually came out the same day because nobody knew that Nintendo was going to launch Pokemon Go. But anyways, this game was huge, super popular, and obviously there's a lot more to the popularity of Pokemon Go than just the game itself. It's kind of like became a social phenomenon. Everyone's outside. If you guys went through the bowl at the university around that time, it was full. There was people everywhere. They were all on Pokemon. People were writing about how to avoid getting attacked while you're searching for Pokemon in the underbelly of your urban city. You know, it became a whole next level thing. So Clash of Clans is a huge mobile game. This game makes, you know, I would estimate, so the company who makes this game, Supercell, is owned by Tencent, which Regan mentioned, but their revenue is $2 billion per year. So that's more than $1 million per day. That's way more than $1 million per day. Is that? 3? Yeah, it is. So Clash of Clans likely makes way more than $1 million per day. They have a handful of games, and we don't know which one makes all the money, but Clash of Clans is their most popular one. So there's a lot that goes into, the mobile industry, the gaming industry is bigger than movies. Games cost more to make, and they make more money than movies. Everybody plays games. Everyone knows people who play games. So I've been trying to design games. You know, I'm always thinking about designing games, always talking with people about good ideas or just good ideas in general and trying to tell whether they're good or bad. And there's a few core elements to games that I think are really key, that you have to nail these key elements if you want to make the big bucks. So this next slide is my stats slide, where I tell you about all the money and say, how do they make this much money? So if you go one more slide, there we go. So my whole talk centered around breaking fun into these 3 kind of core elements, which I have deemed or termed the primal elements of the video game, the cerebral elements of the video game, and the social elements of the video game. So if you go to the next slide, this is Battlefield 1. It sold about 15 million copies. It's only been out for like 5 months or so. Huge game. It's a first-person shooter. I'm sure you guys all know what a first-person shooter looks like. It's kind of a gun in the middle of the screen, and when you press the trigger, the gun shoots, and hopefully you shoot something and something dies. People have been making first-person shooters forever. Everyone knows what these games look like, and if you're not really that into them, you'll be like, why are people still playing Call of Duty? Why are people still playing Battlefield when they've been making the same game year after year, year after year? And the reason people buy the new Battlefield, so again, this is all just my opinions on these things, but the reason people buy the new Battlefield is because these games are about the primal core experience of the 30-second experience of what does it look like, what happens when I press X, what does it feel like to shoot the gun, what does it sound like. So the new version of Battlefield 1 always has way better graphics than the one before it. And for a game like this primal element, the graphics are the majority of the fun of the game. So people always will buy the new one because each version makes the game funner. It makes it better. The old ones don't stack up anymore after you've gotten used to the elements of the new one. So a game like Battlefield and a game like Forza, which is the next slide, these are games that they're based on the very core experience of just what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like to press the gas on this car? Because most of us can't afford to buy this car and drive 250 miles an hour. But if you play Forza, then you can kind of get that experience. And if you really want to commit to it, you can buy a VR system and a steering wheel. And it's actually pretty amazing how real that feels. So that's the primal elements of a video game, kind of the graphics, the sound, the way it looks, and the way it reacts to your input. And then there's a whole nother world of gaming, and it's the cerebral world. So this is EVE Online, which is some people at my office have just started playing this game. It's a really awesome game. Arlen over there is huge into it. And it's the perfect game for him because he's like big into like passive clicker games. And this game is like you can just watch EVE Online, and it's pretty neat. So there's a lot of data on the screen here. There's no gun, there's no flashy graphics. If you go to the next slide especially, this game can be joked as like spreadsheets in space. Like you're just analyzing data and manipulating this world economy. So I'm using this as the example of cerebral elements of video games. And these kind of include like the learning and the exploration and the mastery. So for me and for a lot of people, learning is like one of the most fun parts of most enjoyable activities. I think humans in general are hard-coded to enjoy learning. And that's how we've become the most intelligent species. So a game like EVE Online really exploits this learning kind of research, this innate enjoyment of learning. So a game like Battlefield, a game like Forza, you don't really have that as much. Like you learn the maps in Battlefield, that's about all there is to it. And it doesn't really matter if you know the maps that well because the other guy has a better network connection than you, and the sniper rifle is really crappy in the new game anyways. So every gamer has their own kind of taste of what primal elements will actually appeal to them, what cerebral elements will actually appeal to them, and what mix between the two they actually prefer. So this is N++. This is one of my favorite games of all time. And it's basically like the ultimate Mario. It's the ultimate platformer. In my opinion, it's one of the best designed games ever made, just because they took the idea of moving a ninja around a level and they just mastered it. And it's perfectly designed game. So if you were to apply this, like what is the primal elements, what is the cerebral elements to this game, the primal elements is the movement of the ninja itself. And the movement of the ninja is coded as like a momentum simulation. So it has this really natural feel to it where you can run faster going down a hill than you can up a hill. And we all have this kind of intuitive understanding of how momentum works. Like if you're moving up and you jump, you're gonna jump higher than if you did before. So playing this game feels really intuitive, it feels really awesome. You can get going really fast. And every single level is like a puzzle that you have to learn how to solve. And you develop this mastery on each level, because you die and you retry over and over and over again. And I think the level design, the movement of the characters, and then the death in the game are the three kind of core elements. If you go to the next slide, this is the moment of death in N++, which is the most stimulating moment in the game. It's the kind of got this clean aesthetic, but the moment that you die is usually in very spectacular fashion. Like this one, there's like a mine that exploded or something. So it's really loud, it's really like sudden, and it really kind of jerks you awake, and it's very exciting. And it's genius that this moment of death is so well designed and so well done, because this is the moment where the player decides whether to retry or to stop. And N++ is all about trying this level over and over again until you've completely mastered it. So this game has, in my opinion, three kind of core elements, and that's the movement, the level design, and then this death retry. So I would say that the death and the movement are the primal elements of the game, and the cerebral elements are the design of the levels. So every game kind of needs those, it needs some like immediately stimulating. As soon as you turn it on, it looks really cool. It feels really cool. You need that in order to get past the first 30 seconds of playing it and maintaining people's interest. You need that to get like the second gameplay. And then it needs some cerebral elements to bring it to the hour-long mark, so that you keep playing it for 3 days, a couple hours per night. It needs that thing. I've been playing a lot of Counter-Strike, by the way. And yeah, fantastic game. The primal elements are the sudden death and the movement and the feel of the guns, and the cerebral elements are the team tactics and the map design. And that game stood the test of time. And the reason a game like Counter-Strike has stood the test of time is because of the social elements. This is the third and final element of what really brings games to the next level. I'm sure if you guys remember, even every single game has some social element to it. if you guys remember playing Mario with your brother, sister, friend back in elementary school, I'm sure most, if not all, of our memories of Mario, Super Nintendo Mario, or the first game, always had someone else in the room playing it with you. Whether it was your brother or sister and you're fighting over the controller, or just a friend. But this was a single player game, but it still had a massive social element to it. And even a game like Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I'm sure a lot of you are playing, it has this kind of meta social element. Like, I don't have a Switch, I don't have a Wii U, so I'm probably going to play Zelda next year or something like that. But honestly, it's not going to be as fun for me as it is for you right now, because all of you are all kind of discovering the new Zelda together right now. And even though you're playing it alone, you kind of have there's this social element of, we're all learning this new world at the same time. It's like the same excitement of going to see a movie on the first night it's out. Nobody's really seen this before. So single player games have a social element, and obviously online games have a huge social element. And if you can get the primal element right in your game, get it to feel good, control good, that's the real core of it. And then if you can add on some cerebral layers to make it last a lot longer, and then finally if you have some social elements like online play or cooperative play or something, that's really what brings it to last a long time. So next slide, please. The way to think of these is on a time scale. The first thing you do, like the way I've come to these conclusions is, I've been designing games and handing my phone to my friends and watching them play it. And the one metric I use to know whether my intuition of what I've changed is better is how long they play it for. If I hand my phone to my friend and they play the game for 10 seconds and they hand it back to me and they're like, oh, it's great, it's awesome. I'm like, no, it's not. You played it for 10 seconds. You don't want to play this game. So time is the real metric of success with a video game. And you have to, if you want to make a game that lasts for years, the first thing you have to do is make a game that lasts for minutes. You have to make the 30-second, the 10-second, the instantaneous impression of that game has to be attractive. The very first thing you see, a screenshot has to be attractive. Like when you tap a button on the menu, it has to be cool. It has to make a sound, it has to light up. All those little beeps and boops, it has to have all those primal elements of fun. And then once you have that, you can start adding in the cerebral elements of the actual strategy of the game, the tactics of the game, all the subtleties to it. And then once you have those components, you can add the social elements, the online networking or local multiplayer, whatever you want to do. So this categorization can be applied to anything. Next slide. So if you were to apply this to this talk right now, the primal element of this talk is probably the slides on the TV and also the tone of my voice, which maybe could be better. But those are like the raw kind of moment-to-moment experience of me giving this talk right now. The cerebral elements are like the content of what I'm telling you. And the social element is just this setting. There's 150 people in this room. It's a pretty cool event. Thanks again to Vendasta. So at Noodlecake, we have kind of identified the same kind of hierarchy of fun. And we realize that social fun is the most fun that there is. And that social fun is what makes Clash of Clans, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Battlefield, it's a League of Legends. It makes all these huge games last for years and generate millions and billions of dollars. So at Noodlecake, we're taking the same approach and focusing on multiplayer, and we're trying to build systems to take the fidelity of real-time multiplayer off the PC screen and the TV screen and build it for mobile so that you guys can play that kind of stuff in your pocket. So that's kind of my theory of fun and how it applies to Noodlecake. I hope that made sense to you guys, and I hope it was a worthwhile talk. And I also have I've kind of applied my concepts to a game that I'm going to set up on the TV screens here somewhere, and you guys can come and play it, and if you like it, then sign up for the beta, and I'll take your email address, and you guys can play it at home. So thanks for your time, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks to Vendasta.